Hey, what's happening, everyone? This is GBall, and I have an exciting knife here to share with you, coming in from the up-and-coming Olitans knife company. They have been on fire the last couple of years. Some of you are going to be very familiar with this design, but you haven't seen it quite like this. And if you've never stopped by here before, welcome to GBall Vision. Drop me a comment below. Let me know what your EDC is looking like. The knife we are scoping out is called the Mastiff, and it is actually a revamp of the original Mastiff, which came out in 14C and G10. You could often pick them up around $40. I think all of that is accurate. Those of you who know can correct me down in the comments, but this is going to be a completely new update on the design in much more premium materials. Kicking us off, this has a clamshell titanium handle, which means the handles wrap around and meet up in the center of the spine there, and that closes that off. It makes it look better. It also makes it feel better in the hand, and it's going to make the handle a lot stronger. Matching studs, collars, and pocket clip. I really like that green. Detent felt good on the initial flick, and then the cherry on this knife is going to be that step milled M390 stonewash sheepswood blade. You don't see that very often in this price point, which these come in at like $168. I think after my discount, they're closer to $150, and you just don't see this milled finish on a $150 knife. Up until Concept did it with one of their models, it wasn't something you saw in knives under 300 bucks. So I really like that we're seeing it down in this price range on a good steel like M390. It's also going to have a nice front flipper for deployment, going to work very well. You'll be able to access both studs very nicely. Going to be a fifth pocket knife for me personally, but I think it'll be a great pocket knife. It's not going to be too big or bulky to fit in a smaller pocket, and it's going to have good enough ergos that I can get a squeezed full grip on the handle in the choked up position, and it's got a blade shape built for work. So it's really perfect for that type of situation. It is going to be a recessed liner lock, and that has a great access to it with a big old chamfer. Very easy to get to and disengage. No matter where you are in this chamfered area, you'll be able to unlock the knife very easily. It is perfectly centered up there. The detent feels nice and strong, and the acoustics are actually very good too for this little titanium liner lock. Actually sounds pretty good. Grab the tape measure here and get a measurement. See what we're looking at for our overall length. It's going to come in at 5 5/8 overall, 2 inches of cutting edge and 2.4 inches of total blade. For some comparison knives, we have the Spyderco Para 3 up top and the PM2 on the bottom. The Mastiff is going to be even smaller than something like the Para 3. We got 2 more here with the Kershaw Bel Air clip point version and carbon fiber. And then on the bottom, we have the Miguron Hover. And 2 more. Here are a couple of really good representations. We have the Real Steel Esca up top and the Katuo Thorn on the bottom. And that's going to be a very close comparison. We'll grab our 50 Ways Baked In Hank here and get a look at this pocket clip. Check the retention. That is going to look nice and clean in the pocket. You'll have about a ½ inch, maybe 3/16 of an inch poking out, which I prefer at least that much right there. Gives you a nice place to grab a hold of the knife while it's down in the pocket and actually retrieve it. Looks like there's pretty good clearance in there. It is a shorter clip, so the retention on it is going to be a little stronger than, you know, if it were quite a bit longer. But I think that's going to work pretty well. Other than maybe like your winterized Carhartts or something like that, I think it's going to do just fine, especially if we, you know, look at this as it's supposed to be. It is a fifth pocket knife, I think, in my opinion, meaning this is going to be for a small, skinny pocket. And for that case, I think that's going to do just fine. It is going to be right-hand carry only. But as I always say, that doesn't mean that you can't buy it if you're left-handed. It just means you can't switch the carry over for lefty carry. We're going to grab the arch nemesis here and give this bad boy a weight check. Now, I like to play a little game here on the channel with the new knives that come in. I attempt to guess the weight, and I always invite you to play along. You put your guess down in the comments, ounces or grams, whichever you prefer. Even if you already have a comment down there, go ahead and put your guess. And if you're enjoying this video, you like knives and gear, hit the subscribe button and ring the bell. That way you never miss another video. I'm going to give it a go here, and I've been very off the last day or two. Let's see if we can get recalibrated here with this little feller. And these little fellers in titanium can be very deceiving. I'm going to say that we're in like a 3-2. 3-2. Lock me in. 3-2. 3-1. 3-1. Lock me in. Lock me in. Oh. Ugh. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Did we go? Oh, okay. I'll take that. For those of you driving, it says 2.8 ounces. And 78 grams. So I was only 0.3 off. That's good all day. But as you know, I don't consider that winning or anything like that. That's just being relatively close. There is no winning. That's why it's the arch nemesis. I'm competitive. I like to win. And, you know, you just can't with this bastard. We'll grab the calipers here and get a couple of measurements on the handle and blade. If you're not familiar with calipers, it's just a measuring device, and 0.46 in inches and 11.6 millimeters. We'll roll over to the blade stock thickness, which is the thickest part of our blade. That's going to come in at 3.75 millimeters, 148 thousandths. So for the size of this knife, that's a fairly thick spine, which means, no, it doesn't mean you can beat it through a log in your backyard and baton a bunch of logs for a fire, but that will give you a little bit of added toughness to the blade in a sense, right? It's not ultra thin. Let's go ahead. We'll get a look at the behind the edge. And that's going to come in at 25 thousandths in that particular spot. That's like directly behind the edge. Let's see how it cuts out of the box. For that cut test, we'll just use a piece of regular notebook paper. For now, I am out of magazines. For those of you who want me to conduct more extensive testing, you send me in the materials and I will do more extensive testing with the knives in a separate video that is not a first impressions unboxing style of video. In order for me to do everything I do in an unboxing like this, which is more than I would say most people do, we go through and manually check everything. We're not reading stuff off of a website. You know, we're doing everything hands-on so we have accurate information. I can't tell you how many times I've been to websites, retailers' websites, where almost everything is wrong. The measurements, the weight, like, it's just not accurate. So that's why I like to go through and manually check everything. And as far as the edge goes, this is beautiful. And if you're asking the question, you know, how does this milled finish affect sharpening? If you're someone who wants to sharpen this knife like 50 times in the first week that you have it, you're probably not going to be really, you're not going to get anywhere with this particular knife. As far as how it all works with this type of blade, I am not familiar. I do not know that. A knife like this, I would mainly just keep up on it, stropping it, that sort of thing, to keep it up to a good standard. And it wouldn't be a knife that I would be trying to sharpen all the time, is my point. And I could be wrong about that entirely. I don't know, like I said. But just for me personally, this would be a knife that I would get nice and sharp, and then I would maintain it with a strop, you know, and that's how I would roll with it. Everyone is different on how they handle various things. I mean, at this point, when a knife goes dull, I can basically just, you know, sit it down, you know, forever and go to a different knife. Never see that knife again. But I like to try to keep things up to par. I have fallen a little bit behind with that. Some need some maintenance as far as tightening of screws and edge checks and that sort of thing, but it's hard to find the time to do all that stuff. So we're going to grab the off-grid driver now and see what we're looking at for the hardware situation. The only thing we have to deal with is one body screw, and that's T8. Non-tooled pivot looks really clean. Not a ton of branding on this thing, so looks really good in my opinion. And then we're going to be looking at T8 there for the pivot. I gave it maybe like a quarter of a turn. Didn't affect centering. That is still spot on. The detent still feels good, and the closing action is nice and smooth. It'll drop to your finger, and then a single shake or two will do the job. 2 light shakes or 1 hefty shake. Yeah, I like this quite a bit. I'm not a huge fan of small knives like this, but as I've said many times to you in the past, they have a place. And I think, you know, every collection, everybody should have some form of a knife like this one here. You know, no matter, barring whatever materials you want to go for, but just a size and style like this. They're great for a smaller, fifth pocket utility type knife. That's, you know, just my opinion. Basically, as I said earlier, this knife right here would be like a tertiary, the third in line, but it would be my main user. Third in line as far as its size. But if this knife was with me, it would be the knife I would get out and use for the most part, right? That's where it sits to me. This could be a full-size knife to somebody else. There are people out there with rather smaller hands, and that's just the way that it goes. We're going to run this through another check or two. Lockup is very early, about 20% or so. We're going to see if that has any effect on how this stays locked up. We have had tons of examples where the lockup is insanely early, like 20% like this, and it's rock solid. We've also had some that are very early and they will slip pretty easily. So, you know, it's kind of up in the air which way this is going to go. But we got to give Olitans the benefit of the doubt, because I haven't had a single knife from them that has failed a lock check. Liner locks, crossbar locks, frame locks, you name it. They haven't had a single issue when it comes to locking mechanisms, which is a beautiful, beautiful thing. And I've checked out easily 20 of their knives. You know, that's only, you know, 1 or 2 examples of maybe each design, and maybe a few more than that, but they have all been rock solid. I don't feel any movement in there, up or down. We're going to start off with a light tap out towards the tip. That puts a ton of stress on that lock. And that was just a light tap to get us going. We have had knives fail from something like that. And a good shot in the middle. We'll close it and check it again. And a very good shot there right in the middle. It sounds good. And we'll close it, check it one more time. We're not doing this to see if you can hammer a nail into a tree with the spine of your blade. We're just doing this to make sure we have a good positive lockup in case you were to meet some accidental force to that spine, however that may be. The old double tap there to finish us off. I don't think we're going to have any issues. Yeah, we're not going to have any issues with this fella right here. And that is awesome, because look at all that room to break in for the lock. Very good stuff from Olitans. Not going to be everyone's style because of the size or because of the blade. I don't know if they're all like that. There is a couple versions. And like I said, I might even pick myself up the Zircuti Accent Accessories Kit for $60. You're getting a clip, 2 collars, and I believe both the studs. So that is awesome. Just the clip and the collars is a good deal for $60. I don't remember if it was the studs. It has to be the studs. I think it is. It was the studs, collars, and pocket clip. I'll correct myself if I'm wrong I'll pop up a photo if I remember. You'll have to let me know what you think of this fella right here. As I said, who is this knife for? Someone who's looking for a semi-premium 5th pocket knife. That's what I would say. I think it fits the bill beautifully. If you can pick it up at like $150, I think that is a great price for a step milled M390 blade, all titanium hardware, handles, accents, all that stuff. You know, it makes the price very fair on this knife. And even if you wear an XL glove, you're still going to get a good squeezed grip, full grip on the handle. You know, might be off a little bit, but you'll be able to get that pinky on there for the most part. But as I've said many times in the past, I very rarely ever find myself cutting like this. Very rarely. When I'm cutting, I pick up the knife, and this is pretty much the way I go to cut most everything. That's how I start off, at least, is this. So really, it just depends on what you do. Everybody's going to be different. But for me, you know, I get the knife out, flick it open, and this is the first grip I'll go to. Just, it's the carpenter in me. It's the nature. You know, that's how I go right there. But just depends on you, your hand size, what you like, what you need. But that is who this knife is for, in my opinion. I look forward to hearing your thoughts. Do you have any Olitans knives in your collection? I know a lot of you guys out there love Olitans, and I do as well. They are a hell of a company, up and coming, really making their own way. Do me a solid, hit that thumbs up button for me. It helps push the video to more people. And if you want to make sure that you never miss another GBall Vision video, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. Stab that damn bell. That way you never miss another video again. I'm going to have a couple of new ones popping up on your screen right now that you haven't seen yet. Go check one of those out. The one that looks better to you. Just do it. Come on. Click. Click on the one on the right. Click on it. Click on it. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you have an awesome day. Love you all. Catch you on the next one.